Today is May 28th, and I'm Derek O'Shea, and this is the Derek O'Shea Show. April inflation surged to its highest level in decades as Biden is set to unveil his $6 trillion budget. Yay! I mean, infrastructure plan, it's just for the roads and solar. That's it. No other thing. We're not putting money anywhere else. Oh, wait, that's the Republican deal. $6 trillion budget. This is only a few months into his presidency. What do you think in 2 years is going to be like? What do you think that dollar is going to be worth tomorrow? 75 cents? 80 cents? Why do you think people are buying Bitcoin? Are you in Bitcoin? Are you in precious metals? Because as we continue to print dollars, do you have confidence in the dollar? Why do you think they hate Bitcoin and everything like that? Is it because they actually think it's a scam? Or are the rich people really buying it while the poor people don't because they know it's a great hedge and it's a great way and they see what's coming because they're smart? As last year, CEO pay, according to AP News, rose to $12.7 million, even as the pandemic ravaged the economy. So as always, all these budget deals, these taxes, they don't affect the wealthy. I don't know how to say this. You take more from the wealthy, yes, but who do you think is disproportionately affected more? It's people without money. It's people without assets. It's people that live in apartments. It's people that don't have homes. It's people that make $35,000, $40,000 a year. Those people are going to be affected more than the people that are millionaires. The people that are millionaires have money in their bank to make purchases like Bitcoin, make purchases like gold. They are watching what's happening. They're making land. They're buying houses with cash. They are ready for whatever comes. It's the people without money that aren't ready. April inflation surged to the highest level in decades. That's affecting gas prices. That's affecting a gallon of milk. And I'm not a milk guy. I know that's always like a saying, what's a gallon of milk worth today as opposed to yesterday? No one drinks milk as much anymore because a lot of us are lactose intolerant, like myself, but you drink almond milk like a loser. I switched to oat milk. Big fan of oat milk. But that gallon of milk has gone up way up. Food prices go up. You want to increase minimum wage? Great. Now that gallon of milk is worth $5 a gallon, $10 a gallon. Oh, but it's helping the little people. No. You make the dollar weaker. It affects the rich, but not like it affects the people without money. But as always, liberals like the two-class system, right? They like the power of the wealthy, the government that supplies all the power and wealth, and the people that rely on the government in order to have food. They want that system. It's a conservative free market system that allows you to rise to the top. They don't like that as much because there's no power for them to have in that system. They want the government to have power. They want the government to solve your problems as opposed to you being a independent thinker solving your own problems or seeking out your own information to solve your own problems by other people and stuff like that. So this budget plan, we're only a few months in, okay? Bitcoin is consolidating and is doing just fine. Yes, it dropped a lot. I've seen articles coming out saying the average price of people that were selling was about a few $100s. What does that tell you? It's the people that don't have hard assets, people without lots of money are selling, but the people with lots of money are buying the dip. It's consolidating right now. It's bouncing. It's doing just fine. As we print more money, Control Enter, send more money to foreign governments when we don't even have, when our GDP, our debt is so outrageous, it's unbelievable. And as people don't have money in their bank accounts as well, as their debt is, I've seen credit card debts like $1 trillion for this country. And student loan debt is outrageous. And people want to blame students, like colleges and stuff like, you're the one that chose to take out that debt, you know. Police, no, it's never anyone's fault. It's somebody else's fault always in life, isn't it? Police in Chicago has a new memo that just got put out. Will not be disciplined for deciding to not engage and continue on foot pursuit, according to Chicago Police Department. The memo came out Wednesday saying this: officers must be in continual communication with the subject and position themselves in such a way to reduce the opportunity of a foot chase. The officers must ask themselves of the need to apprehend the subject. Is it worth the risk to responding officers, the public, and the subject? What do you think that tells people who commit crimes? Do you think that's going to help improve the community? As always, people in power with lots of money, they see police as a problem because their community is safe. They don't really need them as much. They have security guards. They have people that walk with them with guns to their hips. That's why they're like, hey, why do you need a gun? I don't have a gun. I just pay people with guns. But this is going to communicate to people in Chicago, hey, you steal something? As I just saw another CVS close in Chicago because people were just stealing from it too much. Somebody would probably say, hey, it's probably so racist that they're doing that. If you're a business, would you go to the south side of Chicago? Would you go to the southwestern side of Chicago near Midway? I lived in Chicago for a long time. I would never, ever open up a business in some of these places. Not because of the race of people that are there, because crime is so rampant. And police are so busy dealing with shootings that they can't deal with other crimes. And as the police department put out a new memo saying, hey, if you're in a foot chase with somebody and you have to decide, obviously if they're nonviolent, they're probably just stealing or something, or maybe they're no longer violent, leave them alone. So it's just going to increase criminals, and it's going to encourage them to run. And by running, it can endanger more people, bystanders, and stuff like that, as cops will just turn away. Are we in some kind of Batman movie? I mean, I feel like we are. I mean, during the riots all summer long, and all these rioters weren't being arrested, and they were just night after night, and we were just thinking, are we in the Hunger Games? It's like a Hunger Games and a Batman movie combined. Tech trade groups filed a lawsuit. Big tech, gotta love them. They filed a lawsuit against Florida over a new law that allows to fine social media companies for banning political candidates, citing violations of free speech rights. Big tech doesn't want you to be able to force them to not be able to control information. As we just saw that Project Veritas video coming out of the Facebook whistleblower saying they're giving you a score based on your vaccine hesitancy or things that you say. If that has come out, don't you think they've done other things like, hey, you've supported Trump or said anything positive about what Trump did? Don't you think there's a score for that? Or what political party you belong to? Hey, there's always that section. What politics are you Republican? If you click Republican, do you think that gives you a score? Hey, you clicked you're Christian, do you think that gives you a score? You're a Catholic, does that give you a score? You're a Muslim, does that give you a score? Don't you think they're having a little score, and based on that score they decide what they want to prop up or not? No. Big tech is just like the government. They want to control the information, they want to control what you know, and they want to control the people in order for them to be in power and in control, and for you to rely on them for the answers as opposed to yourselves, as always. Big tech. See, this is the liberal side of me. I think they should be regular. I see them as a public utility. I see them very similar to telephone. I mean, they shouldn't have free speech. They're not a they're not a private business. They're just not. I can't. I'm going to say this until the cows come home. They're not a private business. They're not the same as Shake Shack down the road. They're not influencing elections. They're not telling me to go out and vote. They're not telling me to suppress my speech. They're not controlling me and things that I say between my family members. They're not editing things out. They're not banning me from coming in if I post a video that is now totally acceptable as science in today's world. Last year, it's unreal how some of these like liberal people are okay with like Facebook banning people for hate speech or misinformation. They're just okay with it. When I grew up, the liberals were the ones that were pushing for free speech, but now the liberals today like the establishment. They like the power. They like the authoritarianism that was always a little bit of a part of them, but now they're in power. Now they're the establishment. Now big government, big tech, all those big companies all follow the same ideology. Now it's the conservatives that are against the system, man. Black Lives Matter co-founder Patrisse Cullors, aka Scam Artist of the Year, resigns amid controversy. Okay. You run a company, a nonprofit, and you make millions. You buy a few $1 million homes all over the world because she has to house her family. She has to. So you should feel sorry for her. I wish I had millions of dollars to house my family too. She made her millions and bought her houses, and she's out. Because why? Because she has bigger plans. Why? AKA book deals, probably being on the set of movies, making sure they're suitable for audiences. She's probably going to sign off on things. She's probably going to do trainings, things. So she's probably going to make more money than ever. Congrats to Patrisse Cullors and being the the smartest person in a decade to scam people out of millions of dollars to bow down to a stupid ideology that wants to break up the immediate family and promotes racism. Congrats. The U.S. Senate passed a bill this week forcing President Joe Biden to declassify intel on the origins of the coronavirus pandemic. The bill's passage comes after a report emerged Tuesday that the Biden administration had shut down a Trump-era investigation into whether the pandemic originated from the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Again, Biden administration shut down a Trump-era investigation into whether the pandemic originated from Wuhan Lab of Institute of Virology. Biden shut it down. Following that backlash over the report that came out, Biden released a statement saying he was increasing pressure on the intelligence community to find the origins of the pandemic. I'll give you 6 months. Don't you love when information comes out and all of a sudden the narrative changes? Hey, don't make Biden look bad. What are you doing? Biden's like, okay, fine. I know I said I didn't want you guys to look into it or whatever because China owns me, but we're going to do it now. We're going to do it, and it's going to be fair and balanced, and it's going to be nonpartisan. We'll send the WHO. We can't do that. We'll find out what the WHO found, and we'll just look at those articles, and we'll figure out if they're right or wrong. According to NBC News and other sources, President Joe Biden is expected to appoint Tom Nides ambassador to Israel. Nides' wife, Virginia Mosley, is senior vice president of news gathering at CNN. Love it. Don't you love when they all get in bed with each other and people say, hey, CNN's a completely unbiased news source. Reliable sources with Brian Stelter. The news gathering person that's in charge of all of it, her husband, was disappointed by Biden. George Stephanopoulos is like, hey, when am I going to get appointed? Houston, Texas. This story's insane. 2 MS-13 gang members who killed a 15-year-old girl. They sacrificed her to the saint of death in 2017. Were convicted of murder and each sentenced to only 40 years in prison as they waved to cameras as they went in. 40 years for sacrificing a 15-year-old girl. How is that not a hate crime? That's like a religious hate. That's insanity. I don't want those people out in 40 years. I mean, I'll be old, and they'll be old. But they might get parole. They might do good in prison. I feel like if you sacrifice a kid, you're probably going to do something stupid in prison too. But why is that 40 years? That doesn't make any sense to me. That should be life. Hong Kong pro-democracy media mogul Jimmy Lai has been sentenced to 14 months in prison for participating in unauthorized assembly in 2019. This is what real authoritarianism looks like, people. Hey, you're not allowed to assemble there. They just make up things. Lai, who's 73 years old, is currently already serving time for participating in other demonstrations that year. He will serve part of his new sentence consecutively, meaning Mr. Lauer faces 20 months in jail. The verdict comes as mainland China is increasingly cracking down on Hong Kong's rights and freedoms. Lai is among 10 prominent activists who were sentenced on Friday participating in unlawful assembly October 1st in 2019, according to the BBC. BBC, the only one that has balls to call out China on stuff. That's like their one thing. That's their niche that I respect them for, is that they just call this out. They're very into what's going on in China and pro-democracy things, especially in Hong Kong, as they have very serious interests there that they just walked away from, whatever. But this is what authoritarianism looks like, and it's very serious. 20 months in a Chinese jail. Do you think he's going to be treated with respect? Do you think he's going to be paid? Do you think he's going to come out anytime soon? Do you think he's going to do other things? Well, you think it's going to be a re-education camp? There's like real sad stuff going on in the world as we're focused on our microaggressions and putting out little YouTube videos of the CIA going woke, and because we want to be more inclusive, but there's actual real evil in the world that we're not really fixated on, because we rather tell you about how cool, how like open and welcoming we are as the people, and how we messed up in the history, and we're going to make up for that by giving people money. CBS announces, speaking of giving people money, CBS announces vaccine sweepstakes with cash prizes and more. Prizes include cash, a VIP trip to the Super Bowl, gift cards for date nights, music festival packages, vacations, and more. So get your vaccine at CVS. This is like the most, I've never seen this before in my life, of pushing vaccines. So it's so weird. Hey, we want people to get vaccines in our state. Nobody's getting it. We'll give you $1 million. We'll put your name in a hat for $1 million if you get the vaccine tomorrow. It's very, very weird. David Asher, speaking of weird, who led the Trump administration investigation into the origins of the COVID-19 pandemic, told Fox News on Thursday that the Wuhan Institute of Virology was up to some very hairy stuff with synthetic biology. And that the biostatisticians from the U.S. government calculated that the odds of the coronavirus evolving naturally was 1 in 13 billion. But we weren't allowed to talk about that all year long, and we're told that's racist to even say that and even consider it. It's funny to watch all the liberal media walk this back. Like, they're just like, well, instead of just like saying, hey, we screwed up. I can't believe we silenced people. We're not going to silence people anymore. We're going to allow them to free and open discussion, especially with scientific matters, and let the stupid ideas be squashed out. But instead, they're going, hey, well, Trump never said anything. And also, he was like, remember when he was pushing bleach on people? Don't forget about how crazy that was. And then they end the story there. Asher continued saying the U.S. government probe was finding that there was almost no evidence that supported a natural zoonotic evolution or source of COVID-19. The data disproportionately stacked up as we investigated that was coming out of a lab of some supernatural source. Push this under the rug because it makes way too much sense, people. The WHO just came out saying the pandemic will not be over until 70% of people are vaccinated. As WHO in Europe director citing worries about new variants. These variants are going to continue to pop up, blah, 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 blah. 70% of people are vaccinated. Is a lot of people. Are you vaccinated? I'm not. I'm waiting for there to be an automatic drawing for $100 billion. And then if I get $100 billion, then I'll go get vaccinated. Former House Speaker Paul Ryan is in the mud a little bit, especially with some conservatives. Former House Speaker Paul Ryan tells GOP to reject Trump as he warns Republicans about drifting from core principles of conservatism. Really? Trump is the problem in the GOP. There's no other people you can think of that aren't very conservative, because I can name a few. I can name a few that only pop up around election time and decide to have a backbone then. You know, people are tired of watching people like you just be a politician, as politicians are the best. Instead of worrying about Trump, you should be worried about your people who you serve, and you should be trying to change the way things are going in this country and speaking up for those people, as opposed to just being like CNN and still talking about freaking Trump. If Trump runs again in 2024, you can talk about him then. But other than that, I don't even see the point of it. Maybe just let go some of the mean stuff he said and the allegations and the infidelity in his marriage and stuff like that. And look how the common American, did some of his policies do a positive thing for them or a negative? That's what you should be focusing on more than just, oh my God, he's so mean. Yeah, there was a lot of things he said that was stupid and unpresidential and not very, not somebody my child should look up to be. But I also don't tell my kids, or I don't even have kids. I don't know why I said that. I don't tell my kids that I was like leading in education or friends or myself. I would never look up to the president as a moral character to be. I don't look up to my pastor to be. I look up to God, and that's it. Because we're all imperfect people, and we have the potential to be incredibly evil. So I don't know. That's like the weirdest part about some of these rhino Republicans who they also can't let it go. They're all, these Liz Cheneys, they can't quit Trump. There are real pressing issues going on in America that they should be focusing on. Like Biden's new $6 trillion spending, we're just going to keep spending. We're going to keep printing money. Maybe instead of coming up with new budgets, maybe find a budget that we can cut. Wow, wouldn't that be crazy? Here's the news story that some of my viewers are going to say, shut your mouth. In 2019, radar seen by sailors aboard the USS Omaha being swarmed by 14 UFOs in the same incident. Spherical aircraft was filmed disappearing into the Pacific Ocean. UFOs are real. Ah! I don't know, man. I want to believe, man. I honestly think it's either our government or another country that has way better systems, or maybe just our own government practicing to see if we can even fool ourselves, or it could be aliens. I want to believe, man. And they're going to conquer us in due time. Actually, just ask Elon Musk. He's an alien. Prince Charles is boiling with anger over Prince Harry's latest tell-all interview, as he says it's nothing off limits. I would be so pissed off too if I was Prince Charles. Having your son just like anytime he comes to hang out with you, he's like,
That's it. I'm going to go home and start my podcast, and I'm going to talk crap about each and every one of my family members because they're all jerks. I'm sick of it, and they're racist, and they're rude, and they're poo-poo and pee-pee and caca.
It's like so childish. If you have problems with your family, don't put it on blast on social media. Talk about it with your family. Talk about it with your closest friends. Because time passes, people forgive each other, things happen, people mess up in the world. There are such things. There's this one thing called forgiveness that we just don't know how to do anymore. I want to encourage you to do that. Don't be like Prince Harry.
Anytime my parents say something stupid, I'm gonna let the social media world know. Guess what my dad said? He's a big racist, and I'm gonna let the world know. I'm gonna tell it all on Oprah. While I collect my millions of dollars. Okay.
Speaking of Prince Harry, the day that Philip died, apparently sheriffs in California were sent to Harry's $15 million California home to alert him after a 3 a.m. phone calls of the U.S. Embassy to London failed to wake him. They tried to call him at 3 a.m. Hey, Grandpa, Philip's dead. So we sent sheriffs. Why do we care about these people? Why are they given? What a waste of tax policy. Like, if I was in California, I'd be pissed. Well, I'd be pissed for a lot of reasons, but that's just shows you another waste of taxpayer dollars.
Let's send the sheriffs into Prince Harry's house to let him know that Philip has died. Instead of patrolling our streets, cleaning up our streets, getting rid of some of our criminals, maybe gang members, we're going to send sheriffs to Prince Harry. Harry, wake up! Yeah, Philip is dead. Do something about it, son. We've been trying to call you since 3 a.m.
New York City's billionaire row gets new neighbors. Bill de Blasio plans to build a homeless shelter in an elite Manhattan neighborhood near Luxury Plaza Hotel, as he is given the green light after court dismisses lawsuits by residents and businesses. That's right. Just another liberal destroying his own city. It's going to take a Giuliani to go in there and clean that place up. But at the same time, last night, a huge Trump one flag was draped in the New York Yankees stadium during the game. I don't even care if they believe that or not. I just love how triggered people get by that. They're like,
oh my God, I told you QAnon was going to try to do something again. I told you. They're insane. We have to stop them.
Speaking of insane, Spain's Postal Service is feeling the backlash from its attempt to highlight racial inequality. State-owned Correos España this week issued a set of 4 stamps in different skin color tones. The darker the stamp, the lower the price. The lightest color, which is closer to white, is $1.60 for a stamp, equal to $1.95 in US dollars. The darkest one, the blackest one, costs 85 cents. So messed up. The Postal Service calls them equality stamps and introduced them on the anniversary of George Floyd being killed by police officers in Minneapolis. It said this is from the AP News. It said the stamps reflect an unfair and painful reality that shouldn't be allowed, and that every letter or parcel sent with them would send a message against racial inequality. I love liberals. They're like, hey, we're gonna get on this train and we're gonna promote it too. Oh crap, it's racist. No, that's that fine line. I tell you, CRT is racist. That's why when it's put out and printed out in front of you, it feels and looks racist, because it is. Oil and debris from a container ship is on fire off the coast of Sri Lanka and have coated the beaches of the west coast. The Singapore-registered Express Pearl was carrying chemicals and cosmetics and has been on fire for 8 days. The Sri Lanka Navy is working with the Indian Navy to salvage as experts try to pull it out amid fears of environmental disaster. If the ship sinks, the hundreds of tons of oil could leak into the sea. That's what happens when you have crappy ships. And today in history, in 1998, comedian Phil Hartman passes away. God, that guy was such a freaking treasure. He was killed by his freaking wife, man. It's nuts. It's really sad. I really liked his comedy, but shout out to Phil Hartman. What a comedic genius. He had the funniest dad vibes thing. He had a great voice for dad jokes. It's just such a good, I loved him on SNL. I hope you guys have a fantastic Friday. Don't forget, my week recap / thoughts, cultural thoughts of the week are coming out. Feel free to email me at DerekO'SheaShow@gmail.com if you have any questions about sources I used. Also, subscribe to me on podcasts. If you want the audio only, it gets put out first. The video comes out later. I'm on YouTube, Twitch, Rumble, BitChute. Follow me on there. Make sure to subscribe to me on YouTube so I can make some money someday. And I go live there all the time. I'm going live there with my news now. So check it out. I hope you guys have a fantastic day. And as always, I'll see you on the next episode of The Derek O'Shea Show.